This week has been depressing, near traumatic. Like I've said before, sometimes it's very difficult being a Kenyan. Today was particularly bad. But before I talk about today, let me go back to Thursday. Thursday this week. I walked in the streets of Nairobi, the really Nairobi, where really Kenyans operate from. That is River Road. I was looking for an item. All the way to Duruma Road. I thank Kenyans for appreciating me. Wherever I pass, they say hello. Thank you very much. But the stories I heard were very depressing. Many of the Kenyans I interacted with kept asking me to tell the leadership of this country that they are suffering. But they need not have told me that they were suffering because pain was evident and everywhere. Places I used to go to many years ago, places that were vibrant, each of those is a ghost. Shops where we used to buy certain items, known for certain items, the owners are haggard, despair written all over their face. One Asian man told me it's over. Imekwisha. We have nothing to live for. It is very depressing. People pulled me to their shops. And this is a true story with my friend Francis from the University of Nairobi. They told me this is 1 o'clock. I was there between 12:30 and about 2:30, about 2 hours. That since morning, nobody has even entered this shop, even to ask. In some places, I was told, even window shopping, they don't see people doing window shopping. That is just how bad things are in this country. It was depressing to see the hopelessness. And I ask leaders of this country, please, I urge you, whatever it takes, do it. Return hope to the people of this country. Nothing is impossible. The country is gone. People are suffering. There's no business in Nairobi. A day earlier, Wednesday, this week, was another depressing day. I went to teach after many days of absence. Came from my sabbatical, my first class. I encountered students and the stories I encountered. That is not the university I knew. Those are not Kenyan students I knew. The people are suffering. I particularly noticed a young man in my class who was yawning throughout. And I told him to see me after the class. And I asked him, what's wrong with you? He said he had not eaten for 2 days. And he looked it. I went back to my university days when the business of a student at university was learning. Students were engaged in the serious business of learning. Today, our students are hustling, juggling. sometimes going a day without a meal. How do they learn? For those who may not know, either because they've not been there or because they were there and they knew, but now they are too rich to remember or to care for that matter, learning is a very demanding exercise. You need more energy to go through university than the energy you need to go to the shamba to dig. And our leaders know this thing. The sort of lives our university students are living, being forced into all manner of vices. And we are parents and leaders in this country, and we know it. And we keep quiet about it. We ignore that young men and women are being forced into things they will live to regret all their lives because they must make ends meet at the university. And a number of them can hardly go through a lecture because they have not eaten anything. Very depressing week for me. The stories, because a few students gathered around me. The stories, because I engaged them. They tell me survival, living at university, is a struggle of survival. Some have become petty traders. Some are engaged in vices I can't mention here. This is our country for you. Earlier on, I think Monday or thereabouts, a first cousin of mine, Mystery, a man with nothing in this world, from an extremely poor background, he came here to my place crying that he's been placed in band. For I don't know about this band. I've never bothered about the bands. Ask him, don't talk about bands to me. Just tell me what is the problem, Mystery. The amount of money he's supposed to pay for the daughter admitted in one of these public universities, even if he sold everything he has, perhaps he would need to sell his kidney to pay that amount of money. Please, leaders of this country, let's not destroy our country. There is no better way of destroying any country than destroying the hope of the future people of this country, of the country. There is no better way of destroying a country than destroying the young people of that country. Than giving them little or no education, and whatever little education you give them is useless. You've destroyed the country. I've said before, this country cannot afford to charge fees to university students, because now we are entering into an era where those who join university are children of thieves. And just a handful of other Kenyans. Countrymen, this is not tenable. It has never worked anywhere. It's not going to work in this country. Very depressing. Let me come to today. This morning, I had a very unfortunate, extremely unfortunate event, very sad, of talking to a Saudi returnee, a Kenyan young girl returning from Saudi. The Kenyan embassy knows what I'm talking about. The Kenyan embassy in Riyadh, Saudi, knows what I'm talking about. Listening to that young girl, to the pain, to the physical injuries, It makes me cry for this country. Why do we send our children into slavery? Why? Surely. Why do we send our children into slavery? This particular one is traumatized. This particular one has injuries. This particular one has a back problem. She can't bend. That you take a Kenyan young girl to Saudi or wherever these places are, and they go into a family where there are 10 families, and they must wash clothes for the 10 families, the children, do everything for them. Why do we send our children into slavery? Why do we send our children into slavery? A young girl used to work for me, a lady. I used to pay her not very well, but at least something reasonable. I volunteered to take her for some training. She comes from my place. I knew the father was a good friend of mine, the late Ken. May God rest his soul. But just as she was about to start the training, after she had started, an offer, an irresistible offer to go to Saudi came. I talked to her, I couldn't manage. What was her salary? 29,000. Why don't we tell our children that 29,000 shillings, even before we talk about the sort of jobs you'll do, before we talk about the slavery aspect of it, because we must call this thing what it is. Our children that we send to this country are going into slavery. Modern day slavery. The racism they face, the kind of jobs they do, the hours they put in, even during the Industrial Revolution, the days captured by Charles Dickens, can't match those conditions. 29,000. Why don't we tell our children 29,000 shillings to go and sell your soul is not worth it? Why don't we tell our children that even before you talk about the slave condition under which you work, it is equivalent to 2,000-3,000 Kenya shillings here? I have seen colleagues, even educated people, someone leaves a teaching job in a public university in Kenya, earning maybe those days 100,000. He goes to earn 250. Then I ask him, where's your brain? What school did you go to? A salary of 250,000 in America. You better earn 10,000 here. So why don't we educate our people? That money, and we can't blame them. Because somebody who has never seen money, when they hear 30,000, they think it's a lot of money, yet it's not. This girl was telling me today that this money is even cast. She's been there. She doesn't see the money. She doesn't understand that it's not money. This narrative about jobs abroad, I'm even calling upon the president. Stop! Stop! Stop talking about jobs abroad. Stop sending Kenyans into slavery. Until we reorganize ourselves and prepare skilled labor for market outside Kenya. In fact, if we had any minister in charge of labor or one of these related, working together with the Foreign Affairs Ministry, look, when you talked about German jobs, there was an act they cited. Foreign Employment or something act. We can prepare Kenyans to get decent jobs outside under decent conditions, some of which government to government. The jobs are in this country, but we are messing our country. You cannot bring in investors in this country when cartels have captured the power industry, where electricity is so expensive. Nobody can manufacture in this country. Electricity is expensive. Why? Because cartels have captured independent power producers and so on and so forth. Power lines, cartels. Then you talk about jobs outside. Jobs are right here. Look at the taxes. Look at the demands on employers. They better go and do the business elsewhere. The jobs are here. Look at the licenses required to do a job. You want to open a small kiosk, a bar, a hotel, a small hotel. Look at how you'll be taken in circles. Go to this office, go to this. Pay this much, pay this much. Then the man just doesn't do it. He would have employed 7 people. Then you send them into slavery, Saudi. What are we doing to ourselves, honestly? What are we doing to ourselves? I want to tell leaders, I don't want you to love this country. You are not capable. I've said it before. But just be mindful, kidog, about this country. I want to tell leaders in this country, the people you interact with, the foreigners you interact with, let me tell you, they don't think much of you. When they see what your people go through in those places, they can't respect you, they can't value you, and they can't esteem your country and your race. You cannot subject fellow citizens to those conditions. You can't blow away all the jobs and then purport to be taking Kenyans for jobs outside. You be in the village and let your car break down. See if you can get anybody to manage your car. Why don't we organize to have young men do some little automotive engineering? Let your electricity have a problem in the village. See if you have somebody to do it. There's nobody. Let you do a house at home, you want to do plumbing. See if you'll get somebody to do plumbing. I was trying to do some work and some man had also died, a big man. The few people who could do a little plumbing were all there. I was left hanging. These are jobs in this country. We talk about vocational training. We are just jokers. Even if the boys try to learn masonry, carpentry, building, what have you, there is nothing they will do, because if there is a CDF project, this is a constitution CDF, if we are building classrooms in a local school, the big contractors from I don't know where will come and do that class. Why can't we have policies that these classrooms are done by local boys and girls who have gotten those polytechnics? Jobs abroad. What jobs are you talking about? There are boys doing welding. Welding is a very good thing. Why can't we insist that all beds in the boarding schools, which I don't want, but they are still there anyway? Why, if all those beds in all boarding schools were manufactured by Juakali boys and girls? Hey, I'm so annoyed. The only way of fighting my depression is to get mad and annoyed, because we are selling our country. Please, honestly, how can it be that I'm the only one who loves this country? Why do you allow greed, raw greed, that somebody with a recruitment agency, employment bureau agency, to recruit our girls and take them into slavery just because of money? Can we make conditions favorable in this country for these young people to get gainful employment? I'm just giving examples. If every girl joining Form 1, if every boy joining Form 1 was putting on a shoe made in this country, how many pairs are those? If all the school uniform worn in this country was done by those polytechnics, they used to call them village polytechnics, those craft centers, vocational training centers. If we put action to what we say, Everybody will flock to those vocational training centers because they will know you live there as a graduate and there's something meaningful for you to do. We have to change our approach. I must finish by saying this, that we are courting disaster. We are courting disaster. I want these foolish people to hear this. Nairobi is a city of 5 million people. In another few years, Nairobi will have 7-8 million people. Now ask yourself, if all these children leaving colleges and university and schools are not getting jobs, how many of those are going to be part of these 5 million, 6-7 million? Then ask your stupid head, what sort of city is Nairobi going to be if 2 million young people in the streets of Nairobi don't have jobs and they have university and college education? Just how stupid you can be. Look at yourself. Look at how stupid you are. That if we are going to have 2 million, 1.5 million, 3 million young men and women in this city without jobs. And you think you'll enjoy your life in this city? Continue dreaming. Stupid.